Yo, what's up?
What's up? How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Jason, it's so good to have you on here. Thanks for
Yeah,
doing this.
of course.
Awesome. So we'll get to just hearing and knowing a little bit about you. So, what are five fun facts about you?
Okay. One, actually, I have a tattoo in your native tongue written on my arm. I don't know if you
For
know about
real?
this.
I didn't know. What does it say? It's
It
back.
says,
It's like mirrored.
Tulumbe.
Tunume
Edwin, Tulumbe.
or Tulumbe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Edwin Chigozi. It's his
Yeah.
handwriting. Yeah. I was like,
Oh,
hey, write it out for me. And then I got a tattoo of it.
that's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
that's one thing.
Yeah, that's one. Another fun fact, right before I quit my job to do music full time, I saved a guy's life by giving him CPR. It was like one of my last days, and this guy had a heart attack, and I like gave him CPR, and then he lived.
Wow.
So,
What were you doing before? What were you like?
I worked at a no, I actually worked at a pool. I worked at a public pool at a resort, and
That's
um,
insane.
yeah, and like a part of that was the fitness center, and the guy was working out when he had a heart attack. So,
Whoa.
but he's
Okay.
alive and well and doing good.
Well, you
That's
saved
why
his
it's
life.
a fun fact. Um, gosh, three more. Well, I mean, I live in Nashville. That's not that fun, I guess. But I dropped out of college. That's fun. Um,
One more.
and gosh. Oh, I somewhat trimmed my mustache for this interview.
You're
So
kidding.
yeah, that's the other fun fact.
What? Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Those are fun. Definitely fun.
Yeah,
So what does a typical day look like for you?
gosh, uh, I'm sure this goes for everybody. If you were to ask me 3 months ago, I would have an infinitely different answer than I would right
Right?
now.
Yep.
Um, 3 months ago, a typical day looked like wake up anytime in the afternoon.
Hmm.
Um, Usually like noon. I don't like to sleep much later than noon. I'll always go and get coffee, and there's a coffee shop pretty close to my house that I usually go to every day. It's
Sweet.
called Dose if you're in
Yeah.
Nashville. Um, and then I always have a variety of projects. I've never really had, and currently don't have, like one artist or band or whatever that I exclusively work for. It's always kind of been a variety of things. So I kind of go through my list of if there's tracks I have to play on or stuff I have to get ready for a tour or anything like that. Um, it'll be, any number of those things. And I'm kind of just constantly making lists of like, okay, I got to get this thing done and this thing done,
Yeah.
or yeah, I got to edit these vocals. I've got to, play the guitar on this thing or whatever. So,
Love that.
any number of those things. And then I'm usually up until 2 or 3 a.m. And, I eat roughly 1 to 2 meals a day. I probably should eat more, but actually,
Yeah,
I
probably
read a
good.
book. I read a book that said something about um, there's a large number of really successful entrepreneurs that choose to not eat breakfast in the mornings. My
Okay.
reason is because I'm not awake in the morning.
Right.
And so, and I love lunch food, sandwiches, like hot sandwiches or steaks
Right.
or whatever. So I like don't typically like to eat breakfast food unless it's a specific occasion in which we're all having breakfast together.
That's
Um,
good. It works for you.
yeah.
That's all. So you moved to Nashville. When did that happen? Where were
Um,
you born? Like, where were you born?
that was December 2016. I was born actually in
Okay.
Arizona, but I grew up in California and I was there until I was 18. Moved back to Arizona when I was 18, did 2 years of college, dropped
Yeah.
out, and then quit my job and started my like professional music career when I was 20, out in Phoenix. And then I moved to Nashville when I was in 2016, when I was 26 or something.
Right. Awesome. Cool, cool, cool.
24.
If you could meet anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Meet anybody? Ooh, gosh. I've always like heard never meet your heroes because if they were like jerks to you, it would kind of just crush your soul. You know what I mean? Which I
Right.
don't know if I necessarily believe that. Um, but if I could meet one, living or dead,
Any. I don't. It's okay.
one
Whichever.
person that's ever existed.
Yeah.
Um, well, the obvious one would be Jesus. I feel like I'm obligated to say that.
Right.
If
Right.
it weren't to be that, it would be probably Jimmy Page, who's the guitar player for Led Zeppelin.
Oh, no.
Um, yeah, I that probably if I could pick one, it would be him.
Love them. Love that. Love that. Would you rather live shows or studio sessions?
Gosh, that's such a hard question because I
Could you
love
do both?
both of them. While I'm still young and 28, live shows. But for longevity's sake, and what I've typically found myself honestly just only able to do since we can't do shows right now, studio.
Right.
But I would say like probably I prefer live, but I do love them both probably
Right.
equally.
Awesome. Love that. Love that. So, Jason, when did you start playing guitar? Like, how did that all happen?
I think I got a guitar for my 11th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my parents I wanted to be a rock star, and so they got me a guitar, and I took lessons for a couple of years, and I just fell in love with it, and I kept doing it. So I
Yeah.
guess I'm 28 now, 17 years.
Yeah. Did you ever think that you would like that would be your job? Like,
No,
what was
I honestly didn't know. At the time, I was too young to even know that that was a possibility. I guess I just
uh-huh.
didn't know. I don't know. I never thought about it. I never thought that guitar was a thing that ever was a career for anybody until
Yeah.
got older and recognized that, like, oh yeah, like lots of people do this, and also I think I could, and so,
Yeah.
um, but there was a moment in my life in which it just like it no longer became something I wanted to do, and I just knew that that's what I was supposed to do. And
Right.
I was probably when I was, 22 or something. It just, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like there's reasons that we've been given dreams. And if you
That's
have a dream and you chase it, eventually it stops becoming something you're chasing. It just becomes your life. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, and so now here, 8 years later, that's where I am.
Yeah. Would you say that I guess the initial decision to jump into your career, did you ever like was it an easy decision for you to make? What were some of like the obstacles and some of the things you had to like mentally or like even just practically think about in doing so? Was it
Yeah,
a safe way?
it was not an easy jump to make. No, I was working at Marriott, which is at least in the States. I actually
Mhm.
they're international, but it's a hotel chain. I was working for them, and I honestly really loved it. I just kind of thought I was going to do business forever, and then play the guitar when I could, and
Yeah.
uh, when I realized that I was supposed to quit my job and I just needed to do music, I saved up for 3 months expenses without if I didn't make a dollar, I would have at least 3 months covered. And then I turned in
Right.
my 2 week resignation and I just said I'm out. And I kind of gave myself 3 months to really get this stuff figured out. Otherwise,
Mhm.
it kind of is like a sink or swim situation. You just
Right.
throw them at the deep end
Yeah.
and let them figure it out. And that's kind of what I chose to do with myself. And so,
Yeah.
gave myself a little bit of a buffer and just kind of did it. And then honestly, haven't looked back. I mean, I've done random things since then to make
Yeah.
money. I worked at a restaurant for a little bit, cooking for a few months. I'll do lawns for people. I'll clean
Right.
pools. I'll, walk dogs. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll do anything. So like 100% of my income, even to this day, isn't music, but the large majority of it is. But Yeah, you just kind of do whatever you can. And so, yeah, that being said, the roadblocks, money,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. Is
Yeah.
everybody's always trying to figure out how can I make money doing the thing that I love to do.
Absolutely.
But I knew, like I said, I knew it was something I was supposed to do. That
Yeah.
money just was like, I'm not supposed to be worried about that. There's way other things I should be
Absolutely.
worried about. That like money is gonna figure itself out. Like
Yeah.
I'm as long as I'm working hard and taking every opportunity I have to make it,
Of that.
then it'll be fine. You'll be fine. You got to
Yeah.
keep your expenses low. I mean, there was a lot of days, honestly, back to the 2 meals a day thing. It really started when I was 20 because that's all I could afford. One,
Right.
maybe 2 meals a day. And it was
Right.
like, that's because I wanted to play guitar. I knew I had to play guitar so bad that I was willing to sacrifice meals. I was willing to sacrifice whatever it is that I needed to do this thing.
Wow.
So a cup of noodles, ravioli, whatever. I still regularly stock my pantry with canned goods because I don't know when the next paycheck's gonna come, and it's been eight
Right.
years of you don't know when the next paycheck's gonna come. But
Yeah.
man, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah. And it's sort of like with every day that you go by, like with every day, like you'll have what you need and like you're still
Yeah,
here. So,
totally.
and, and you're
Yeah,
still doing what you love. So
yeah,
like God's got you either way, you
right.
know? And
So
so
there's no point in worrying about it.
yeah, like now looking back, would you say that that was a risk worth taking?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, most risks I don't want to say, I'll say just personally because I don't really know, but most risks I've ever taken, anyone I can think of, is always worth
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
risks are generally always worth taking. I
Yeah.
think the most of the time why people choose to not take risks is because they're afraid of failure. But I don't have
Yeah.
any problem failing because failing is just a way that we can learn how to better do it the next time. So I don't
Wow.
really have a problem with it. But so yeah, absolutely, 100%. I would do it again in a
Yeah.
heartbeat without, are there things I would do differently though? Absolutely. But the only
Yeah.
way I figured that out is because I failed at them the first time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Wow, that's honestly like that's amazing. Totally love that. What would you say like to someone who's like caught in between like doing the safe thing or taking the risk, or yeah, just really wanting to do something, but it's not safe to just take that risk, or currently they don't see themselves in a space where they can actually do that. What would you
Yeah.
encourage with?
Man, risk. So if it's a risk, then there
Yeah.
obviously is something that you have to be giving up to do it. So the first thing I always do is weigh the options, right? It's like, what am I sacrificing by doing this? And I'll
Mm-hmm.
say most of the time, what you're sacrificing is just other people's perspective or perceptions of you. And to me, I don't really care, man. Like, doesn't
Yeah.
matter to me if you think I'm a successful guitar player, producer, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, am I creating products that I'm proud to have said that I put my name on? Yeah. And if you like it, cool. Let's like it together. And if you don't, that's okay too. I love it and I'm
Yeah.
really pumped about it. And like, man, I just didn't lose that much. You know what I mean? I didn't lose
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
much. So
Yeah.
it was, yeah.
That's awesome.
So you always have to weigh the options. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, if it's fear of what other people are going to think or fear, if it's fear at all, it's probably just take the risk. Like
Yeah. Absolutely.
fear is not something that I think that we generally, as the way we were created by God, is something we're supposed to experience other
Yeah.
than something for him. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
not a theologian, so I may totally be wrong in that, but that's just like kind of, I just don't think that we should be afraid of stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I
That also
absolutely love
doesn't make it easy though. You know what I mean? Like everybody experiences fear. Doesn't make it
true.
easy. It's just
True.
like what are you've got to figure out what you're afraid of, I think.
Yeah.
And the more you can pinpoint and like, oh yeah, I'm afraid of this, or I don't want to take the risk because I'm afraid of this, then find
Mm-hmm.
out if it's worth it. And it's probably not, and you're gonna take the risk anyways.
Right. Right.
But
I absolutely.
everybody I know to have been successful has taken a risk and it's always been worth it. You know what I mean? You don't think
Absolutely.
you become successful. And I use that word lightly because I think that word can mean whatever you want it to mean. Successful doesn't mean a movie was made about your life. Successful
Right.
means whatever you want it to mean. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if the risk you took to get there was worth it, then awesome.
Yeah. I absolutely love that, Jason. Um, what's been one of your greatest lessons thus far, and something that we should learn and continue to embrace each day as creatives, and um, you know?
Yeah, man. I mean, I would like to think that I'm learning every day, and I want to and that's a choice. I if I want to learn, I can learn.
Yeah.
I have a device sitting right in front of me that can give me any sort of information at a couple of clicks of a button, and I can learn whatever I want. So you kind of,
Right.
obviously that gets sketchy with false information and all sorts of, I mean, we won't get political, fill in the
Yeah.
blanks though, but
Yeah.
like I, I always want, I can't pinpoint it to one specific thing that I learned that was like, yep, that changed my life. But I've had a
Yeah.
few moments of that. And the older I get, I feel like the more life-changing moments like that I'm able to experience.
Yeah.
And the more I get to experience those, the more I just want them. I just love
Yeah.
the way that those moments make me feel. And
Yeah.
whether it's somebody said something to me that just blew my mind, or
Yeah.
whether it was like being able to be a part of uh uh I, we did this really cool thing with this band that I
Yeah.
started, where we did this listening party on this game called Animal Crossing. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, uh, but it's
Probably
this
if you posted about it, then yeah.
yeah. So it's this video game that
Yeah.
it's just kind of where you can mindlessly go around in relaxing environment on an island and build your whole world or whatever. Well, I built a stage and I designed it all and branded it to be for our band, and we had a listening party, and
Well,
people came. And it wasn't a lot of people, but people showed up, and I never expected people to.
yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
one of those moments that it was like, man, that was the coolest thing for me, one of the coolest things I've ever been able to be a part of in my life. And not because
Right.
I created it, but just because we're all here, like, especially given quarantine, we can't actually be together, but we're all
Yeah.
virtually here on these own characters we created on this
Yeah.
island that I created, where we all get to listen to the music that I created with my buddy Ryan, and
Yeah.
experience this thing together. And
Hmm.
I mean, I chase those moments regularly. I always
Right.
want to have moments like that. Another
Right.
one was like when I first really got into TikTok. I don't know if you know what TikTok is. I'm sure
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Man, so I was super late to the game, but right when quarantine hit, I started seeing all these TikToks, and I finally downloaded it. I was like, man, I got to figure out what this all is all about. And I could
Yeah.
honestly, I could talk for 2 hours about TikTok now that I'm just like, I'm fascinated by this thing. But
Yeah.
it's the first time in my life as a millennial where growing up, we were always told, and in America it was like this. I can't say the same for you in Uganda, but like growing up, it was like the millennials were always those dumb kids with the internet. We were the dumb kids
Mhm.
with MySpace, or oh, those dumb kids with their phones, and they always have to be on the whatevers, and they're doing the Instagrams and the Facebooks and whatever. And it's like, man, look where we are now. Like
Yeah.
now, people my generation are looking at TikTok and saying, oh man, those dumb kids and the Gen Zs on their TikTok or
Right.
whatever. But it's like,
Right.
man, I don't want to be that. I can either choose to be like, being old is not is just an excuse to be irrelevant, I feel like. And like, yeah,
Right.
we're all aging
Right.
at the same rate. We're all
Mhm.
aging at the same rate. And I can either choose to use my age as an excuse to not care about what's happening in the world, or I can age ultimately is a number, and I can just
Yeah.
choose to. But it's a choice. I'm like, I use the word choose very, like, that's the word I mean. I mean, I have to
Right.
wake up daily and choose to spend time on this app that personally, like, for a long time I just hated, and still I
Right.
get on there, and a lot of the content I don't really like. But
Hmm.
I know that the user interface of the app, people are able to create people 16-year-old girls are able to create videos that people have gone to school for years learning how to
Yep.
create. They can now do it from their phone in a few hours. That
Right.
Don't
That's
sleep on that.
mind blowing.
That is
Yeah.
fascinating. So
Yeah.
I at least want to be paying attention. I don't have the skills or the like energy just to make those types of videos
Yeah.
in I mean sometimes if it's a really in-depth video, the people will post, this took me 15 hours to make or whatever, and it's
Right.
like,
Right.
yeah, man, it did. And I get that. That's fascinating because it used to have to take, you used to have a whole computer and you had a team of people working on it to get that
Right.
video out in what you were able to do on your own in a day.
Right.
Like that's
Right.
pretty cool. So I don't
Yeah.
want to, I don't, yeah, I don't ever want to forget that.
Love that. Absolutely. Definitely. So, what's been your most memorable moment of your career thus far? If it's an
Oh
experience,
gosh, most
working
memorable.
project, um or experience.
Man, the most memorable, I don't know. I mean, honestly, like because it just happened, that listening party we had on a video
Right,
game to
right,
me
right,
was so
right,
memorable.
right,
I'll never forget that. And I've had a
right.
few moments in my life where I'll just never forget. The first time I went to Uganda was one of those. And it was like,
Yeah,
man, this moment I will, and it wasn't even, that was the 10 days I was there. I mean, every day there was constantly moments of that. And now
mm,
I've gone 3 or 4 times over the past couple of years. And so, uh, I mean, there's always moments, but they don't always look like the time I played a stadium of 50,000 people for Easter. Sometimes
yeah,
they look like that one time I saw one of my favorite bands and there was 10 people there. Like that
right.
was really cool for me too, because
Hmm.
I remember like seeing them and I didn't really know what they looked like, and they came out and they started playing the songs I knew, and I was like, wait, I guess this is the band. Why is there
Yeah,
only 10 people here? But
right,
it was just special. I mean, I have moments like that all the time as a consumer and as a creator.
right.
And if I cease to experience those moments as a consumer, I will soon be out of ways to create that as a creator. And
True.
so I'm trying to constantly do both, which is very hard to do.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Love that. That's so cool. Jason, so we're gonna actually get to you playing a little bit, but if
Okay.
you did, if that's okay. Um,
Yeah.
so, okay, what is a guitar riff that you have recently made that you're proud of, and can you play it for us?
Oh gosh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we just had man, I'm gonna record it here for post,
Yeah,
but we'll see how it works on the live video. But
yeah.
so the band I was talking about, we just released a song called, we released two. One of them's called I Want You.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them have guitar solos in it actually, because I love
Yeah,
guitar solos.
love
So I'm
that.
just gonna play one of the solos
Yeah,
from that.
go for
So
it.
give me 1 second. All right. Well, let me stand up. Maybe it'll be easier for you to see.
Yeah, cool, cool.
All right. That's like one of the solos
Love it.
that I
Yeah,
wrote for one of our songs that I was just like super excited about. Uh,
yeah.
I always go through moments of like I watch somebody play something and I'm like, wow, that's so cool, and I learn it, and then I'm like, man, how can I use skills from that, like this that lick right there,
Nice.
I just like
Yeah,
love, and I don't even
yeah.
remember where exactly I got that from, but it was just
Right.
like, man, how can I throw all of these different things I've taken from different people
Right.
and use them to do, whatever it is that I want them to do. You know what I mean? And like,
Love
and how can
that.
I fit that into the thing that I'm doing or whatever? So
Yeah. Love that. Love that. We'll
yeah.
get you to play one more thing. What's your
Okay.
favorite solo of all time?
My favorite
In your
solo of all time.
or one of your favorites?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'll play this one. It's from a band called AC/DC, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
ever,
I have
ever
one of their
since,
thingies. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, they're an Australian band, and one of my favorite song, or I just remember being a kid and listening to the song "You Shook Me All Night Long." I had no idea what it
Right.
meant because I was a kid, but I loved I loved the guitar solo in it, and
Yeah.
it took me, I mean, until I was 20. I don't know. I learned it last year, so until I was 27, 26,
Right.
to actually learn this, to actually sit down and learn the song or the solo. And once I did,
Mhm.
I was like, man, this is super cool. So I haven't played it in a while.
Okay.
So I actually totally wasn't uh, planning on doing this, but I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna be. We'll
Yay.
see how it goes.
Excited.
That
Whoa.
that like
Love
I just love
that.
learning that.
Love that.
I always take parts like that and dissect them and try to be like, man, how can I, like, what is he doing there? What is it? What are the moments that I love about that solo? And then
Yeah.
how can I utilize some of those skills to like apply to whatever is the next thing that I'm doing or whatever.
Yeah. Absolutely love that. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah, of
so much
course.
for doing that. Yeah. And I guess we'll wrap it up as well right now. So I just wanted to say thanks so much for chatting and for sharing
Yeah.
your story and some of the things that you've learned on your journey. Absolutely appreciate it. And yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, it's been so fun, Hannah.
Really,
Thanks for
really,
having
really
me.
great.
I've
Yeah,
really enjoyed
absolutely.
it.
Where can people like find you if they want to like see what you're up to and all of that?
Yeah, so on Instagram here, I think my handle might be up at the top of there,
Yep.
but at Jason Edrich, which is kind of my handle for everything, Twitter,
Yeah.
Instagram, all that stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, check me out there, and
Yeah.
I'm always down to respond. Like I like talking to people and stuff. If you
Love that.
have questions or whatever, hit me,
Yeah.
or you just want a friend, then DM me and we'll chat.
Cool, cool, cool. All right, thank you so so much. Thanks everyone. We'll wrap it up here, and I'll see you guys next week. And so, peace out. Have a good week,
Yeah,
guys.
sounds great.
All right, bye bye.
See ya.